Here we go now.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. Fresh off another successful show in Washington, D.C., The Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era live experience. Thank you to everyone that came to our Washington, D.C. show. Shout out to everyone that came to our Philly show. Shout out to everyone that came to our Atlanta show. We appreciate you. Thank you to the venues that welcomed us back. We appreciate you. And of course, thank you to everyone that's coming to our New York City show, the final show of this summer tour, final show of 2025, because literally it will be Thanksgiving and the holidays, and we're not going to do shows around that time. Sorry, not sorry. It's just the nature of the business. But don't forget, the New York City show will be a special show because, first of all, it will be very exclusive in regards to what we are going to share. The Brooke Ashley will be opening up for me at that show. And we will also have a live stream option. So everyone here in the United States, but also around the world, so you can be in Australia, you can be in the Netherlands, you can be in South Africa, you can be anywhere in the world and be a part of the Kempire After Dark, the Villain Era experience. So if you haven't already, be sure to get your tickets today. There's a separate link for the live stream, but check out the live stream, the link tree that we have, so you can do that. However, if you're in New York City, will be in New York City, want to be in New York City, come to the actual in-person show, because sometimes tea is spilled when we're not in that room, and it's spilled during the meet and greet. More information on all of that, again, will be available in the description. This is our weekly recap of the Real Housewives of Orange County. I heard mixed things. A lot of you were saying that this episode was boring. I didn't find this episode boring, but maybe because I was trying to catch all the lies or keep up with all the lies. And does this change? Because, you know, I've been very hard on Katie Janela. Does this episode change how I feel about her? Not exactly. Not exactly. I do believe in some shape or form she was trying to protect Gretchen. I think they were trying to protect each other during this New Orleans trip. However, something's just not adding up to me, especially when Katie sits down in her conversation with Matt, her husband, because when she asked him, you know, do you remember what was said? And he was like, I know you're not making it up. That's not answering the question. Answer the question like, well, this is what Slade said to me. So I don't understand. And look, some people have said, I forgot where we were having this conversation. It could have been in DC, where some people were saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Katie lies to Matt. No, maybe Katie and Matt are cut from the same cloth. They may both have a lying problem. However, if you watch this week's episode, Gretchen was caught out there in a lie.
Lies! The lie!
Because they show a never before scene with Gretchen in the car talking to Tamra, revealing, I may have said I went to the hospital. So which one is it? Okay, I've jumped ahead, and this will not be a long one, because I'm not really feeling Real Housewives of Orange County this season. I don't know what it is, and okay, I'll get there, because I want to talk about Tamra and what I think about Tamra and what Tamra's going through, because You see how immediately Tamra was back filming in her therapist's office after she quit. But I told you when she quit on social media, when they were filming, I said she'll be back. I'm going to just say this now. Tamra, if you really were focused on being a better person and healing and actually getting to the root of your issues, get off of Real Housewives of Orange County. But she won't do that because she's not trying to really heal. Being on reality TV, someone asked me about Katie in regards to Katie Rose from Real Housewives of Potomac. They were like, Kempire, why, they asked me who I want back on Real Housewives of Potomac, and they were like, and why is it Katie? I loved Katie on Real Housewives of Potomac. And when I say love, doesn't mean that I loved everything that she did. I loved her as a personality on reality TV. However, Katie is not in the best space to be on reality television. This is not the environment to heal, especially if you have an addiction. Not saying that Tamra has an addiction, but if Tamra is claiming that her best friend is dying, she is being triggered by her issues with her child, then being in a space where people are paid to trigger you, unfortunately, I know that's not in the contract, but clearly this is what's happening on the show. You're in an environment that's not a healthy environment for someone that's really trying to heal. That's my opinion. Familiar, right? Right. All right. So I wanted to address some of the other issues that play out through the season, because the first 20-something minutes are them still in New Orleans. They do some more events. They go on this alligator tour kind of thing. Gina, again, it's always about Gina. I don't understand, after watching 7 episodes of Real Housewives of Orange County season 19, why Gretchen wasn't full-time and Gina or Emily. Well, no, Emily's story had me a little emotional this week. We've talked a lot about this already. But I'm just kind of wondering, maybe because producers know that Gina will be a producer's pet and move story aligned, bring stuff up when necessary. Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. I know we think that we know why production does what they do, but again, we have to keep in mind, production doesn't hire and fire. Do we realize that? Production doesn't hire and fire. They might share thoughts to the network. And when I say production, I'm not talking about Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen's a part of the hiring and the firing. Andy Cohen is an executive. The people that are producing the show don't have a choice in regards to casting. This is the Bravo executives that are deciding these things. So I don't know why exactly Gina is still there. I don't know. I can't explain it to you. I'm not going to even try. But I can see her working overtime to move stories aligned, make things about her. Like, I can't understand. Her getting frustrated with Shannon. I understand. Shannon late. We have another housewife that's very late. Shannon is a hot mess. Someone else that a lot of people were saying that, and now I'm really believing, like, Shannon, you really need to take a break. You probably should have taken a break last season. However, it worked out well for you. After this season, but again, she relies on this check. She needs this check. It's not even just about the check. They need this attention. Can you imagine if they did not bring Shannon back? She probably would have a meltdown. That's not healthy. Shannon has a meltdown in this episode. And she's like, she had a conversation with Emily and she looked a mess. Then she was on the phone with them and she sounded like she was falling apart. Shannon, get it together. This is not a healthy environment for someone that is getting over just having a DUI, may have an alcohol problem. I can't remember if she has admitted that or not. This is not a healthy environment for you. And I wish production, and I get it. Some people will say, well, this is reality television. Reality television shouldn't be at the detriment of your mental and physical health. And you see what production and the network have been accused of by former employees when we had the whole reality TV reckoning. They will bring you back every time because they know you need the check. They know you need the attention. They don't care because they're going to be making millions of dollars off of you year after year. You're going to make maybe $1 million that year, but they're going to continue to make millions off of you for perpetuity. Andy Cohen especially. The network is making money because people are rewatching. I'm about to rewatch or watch for the first time Naked Wasted because so many of you have talked about it. And I also want to have a better understanding of what happened. Because here's the thing. I know Tamra wants to act as if this whole addition of the roofie element is what makes Naked Wasted worse. But no, I've heard a lot about Naked Wasted, especially since these last couple of episodes. That alone was terrible. That alone should have gotten you fired. Because we talked about Phaedra alluding to a story like this, but you actually did it. This is actually on camera. And I know this is season 4 and it was a different time. But now that it's coming up again, you really should have never come back on this show. Back then should have been the indication of, oh, that's who she is, and explains why the behavior that she's displayed over the years has been what it is. She's been rewarded by, come on back, here's a pay raise, da-da-da, fans love you at BravoCon. It's a terrible cycle. And that's why I say when I look at Brandi Glanville, and I feel for Brandi Glanville, she was wrapped up in that terrible cycle of reality television and depending on that check. I met Brandi back in 2021 at BravoCon in New York City. And even back then, backstage, she was talking about how she needs to work. So she was willing to do anything and everything for this network until she went too far and she realized that she was disposable to them. And now you see, I believe she does have a parasite, but I feel like that's a physical manifestation of years of selling herself for this network just so that she could make a buck, take care of herself, her family, and to be on television. It's a terrible, terrible cycle. So if you are considering doing reality television, I hope you are being very mindful of what I'm telling you. Based on someone that has watched thousands of hours of reality television, but also have spoken to people from behind the scenes, have heard things from behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, just story after story. It's just, for me, honestly, allegedly, I'll say, it's an HR nightmare, and I don't know how they get away with it. But the reality TV reckoning did shake the table. I'm not sure why exactly Bethany decided to stray away from it and stop talking about it. I don't know, but we won't. We're going to continue. I'm always going to bring back up the reality TV reckoning because I'm just like, oh, remember, this is what they said about, reality television back then. And Bravo is not the only one. I'll just say that as well. Bravo is not the only one that has this alleged toxic cycle of abuse that's happening when it comes to what we see with these reality TV stars. All right, I've went on a tangent. As I've gone on this tangent, for those that wonder, this is a pre-recorded recap of the Real Housewives of Orange County. Shout out to our King's Guard. Shout out to our channel members. Become a member today at TheKempire.com/join. Don't forget, you can also hear our recaps and special episodes and extended versions on the Kempire podcast. Subscribe today if you haven't subscribed. Okay? I keep checking to make sure. Did I freeze? But no, we're good. We're good. All right. Back to this. So we're still in New Orleans. They, of course, are reacting to the fact that Tamra went on social media and quit the show. But here's the thing. Tamra is so freaking predictable. That's the thing. It's like we see through her. That's why I want to give her grace, because when we talk about mental health, I really, even if I don't necessarily love someone on a show and someone I don't know, I still want to give them grace, because what we do know is real, is that Teddi Mellencamp is fighting for her life. And we all wish Teddi well. We're all praying for Teddi in good health and for a miracle. And I'm not doubting someone that really knows her in real life and spends a lot of time with her and they call each other best friend. I'm sure that does affect her. It's just kind of interesting when I watch this show, and I have to remember the Tamra that I've seen over the last couple of years. She's very strategic. She's very strategic. She's very calculated. So although I do think that she cares for Teddi, I also believe that she is also utilizing this as a way to get out of issues, like her conversation with Heather Dubrow. She immediately brought up the issues with her daughter and what's going on with Teddi. So And she breaks down because she knew that shuts down any argument, a valid argument that Heather had, shuts that down immediately. We've seen this behavior from Tamra before. I'm still giving her grace because she does have a friend that's going through this. However, what I'm seeing, and I'm just going to say it because this is my review and me saying this is my truth. I don't know it to be fact. This is just how I feel based on what I'm watching and what I've watched from Tamra from over the years. And apparently a lot of you agree with me when it comes to, no, I agree. I agree. I feel like she's utilizing what Teddy's going through, which is disgusting, as a storyline. I'm not saying that I did not expect her to talk about what's going on with Teddy because that's really happening in her life. What I'm seeing, though, is how she's using that as her storyline for the season and as her excuse. Because in this episode, they flash back to Tamra on leaving a voice message for Teddy. And then she admits after that voice message that she took a Xanax and she mixed alcohol with it. Convenient? Maybe. I don't know. But I also told you she quit very publicly, very much like what we were talking about with Tamar. There's a psychology. There needs to be, I'm sure there is, a psychology of reality television. That is a course I would take. I used to love my psychology courses. I was a psych major. My bachelor's is in psychology. I love taking different psych courses. I've always said I don't think I would go back to school. But if there was a psychology of reality television, Harvard, are you offering? Adriana. Maybe Adriana can teach it. Here's why Adriana couldn't teach it. Because she's still wrapped up in it. We need someone that's going to be able to study and talk about this at a collegiate level that's not in it. I was thinking Dr. Wendy. I know Dr. Wendy is teaching a course at another university, not where she used to work at Johns Hopkins. And I think it's related to reality. And I'm sure she's able to give a great perspective on reality television. However, I think when you're wrapped up in that, your view is a little biased and a little skewed because I still think that you're enamored and you're not able to give an outside view of what's happening in reality television. But again, I don't remember the name of the course that Dr. Wendy Asefo is teaching, but that would be an interesting course. I wonder if it's online. I should have applied because that would have been really interesting. Then she has to give me a grade. I'm like, damn you. No. But yeah. Anyway, I've digressed. Back to this. So the group is reacting to Tamra quitting. Gina said that the last time she spoke to her was when Tamra had texted her just being hateful about what Gina calling her out at the table. Fine. Then they go on this alligator tour. Shannon is running an hour late. Was it an hour late? Well, they said 10 minutes, but then it seemed like it was a lot longer. It was like, at first they said 10 minutes, but I think it ended up being an hour. So she eventually arrives and she's like, oh, I need my jacket. And Gina has a fit because she's like, I'm really going through a lot right now. I can't focus on what's going on with you. She goes off because she's like, she has fear of the water. She has fear of the alligators, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Gina. I would be annoyed too with Shannon being late and then making everything about herself and she's having a breakdown, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, this little rant that she went on, I was like, oh God, please shut up. No one cares. So I end up having, I believe it was like a dinner or something like that, just sort of to unpack everything when it comes to Tamra and Tamra leaving. Who cares? Let's move on to some other scenes, okay? Some other scenes that happen. We have to talk about Emily and her conversation with Shane. I don't remember the statistics. However, it's not uncommon for marriage trouble to happen when your child is diagnosed with a developmental disability, specifically autism or an eating disorder. And I know a lot of people did not want Emily talking about this, but I've told you before, I'm glad that she is, because she's going to help someone. I think she's going to help a lot of people that have been struggling to figure out what's going on with my child. Someone had an aha moment watching that. But they're also helping relationships, because this conversation between Shane and Emily, and I'm not on anyone's side, because there are a lot of men very much like Shane that are very practical in how they raise their children. He even admits to saying, I treat my boys versus my girls very differently. I'm a little bit softer with the girls, but a little harder with the boys. Because what happened, first of all, while Emily was away, she was already feeling mom guilt because she's away and she knows her son is struggling. She comes back and he's talking like baby talk. He's sort of like regressing. And Shane is like, he wasn't doing that when you were gone. Okay, but maybe that's his safe space. That's where he feels like he can be that way. I've seen that with family members where, as growing up, where the son and I remember my cousin and my aunt, they had like he would like literally regress. But some people are like that. Some of you regress when you see your parents. So their conversation was kind of heartbreaking to watch, because I really believe that they're struggling with their parenting styles and trying to figure out what's the best way to help Luke. And I think it was an important conversation. I hope they're getting help. They're going to need counseling, because you have to be proactive, that you're keeping open dialogue. I get where Shane is coming from in his perspective. I'm not saying that it's the correct perspective, but I'm going to tell you there are a lot of heterosexual men, a lot of men, I say heterosexual, but a lot of men that think the way that Shane does. And he thinks that, well, this is how we're going to do it. It's very black and white for men. As a mother, she sees it a little bit differently. She senses things a little bit differently. She wants to handle things a little bit differently. She's not wrong either. That's why they're there as partners. He's going to be able to balance out some of maybe the coddling that she's going to do in regards to this. But they're doing what they need to do. He's getting tested, and this is just the early part of their journey. But it was heartbreaking watching their scene, because her breaking down like that, her cry. That's why I was like, when y'all think that some of this stuff is not real, I was like, no, that is a deep belly cry. And I know Shane was uncomfortable in that moment, because he's just like, oh my gosh, like he doesn't see or feel the same that she does when it comes to him. He's sort of like, no, we're going to figure this out. But a lot of you that are in relationships or marriages or have children with a disability probably can relate to this. Some of you may have gone through divorces because of your child was diagnosed with a developmental disability. These things happen. I don't remember the statistics, and the statistics probably have changed since the last time I looked at the stats on that. But if you are proactive, which I feel like Shane is probably more reactive as to being proactive when it comes to your relationship, because we've talked about this before. I learned this years ago watching Oprah as a kid. Why was I watching Oprah as a kid? I've always been interested in people and the psychology of people, the science of people. So I remembered a long time ago, and we've talked about this before here on the channel, that people try to prioritize their children, thinking that is the best for their children over their marriage. What I learned a long time ago is that you need to do the reverse. You need to prioritize your relationship, because that will be the best thing for your children. And I believe in this particular instance with Emily and Shane, that's exactly what they need to do, is prioritize making sure that they're good as a solid unit, so that they can be strong and a solid unit for a child that needs people to be solid and consistent. My thoughts, not an expert, although degree in psychology, and for 5-6 years worked in the world of nonprofits and people with developmental disabilities. Hands-on, Also training staff to work with people with development. Mother has lived. I realize it more and more every day when I talk with you guys. Mother has lived. Before I worked in the corporate world, that me out of college, while I was in college, I was working with people with developmental disabilities, children with development, and then adults, and then sort of like, so I've had like a very HR-esque job, even in the world of nonprofits, because after working hands-on with people with developmental disabilities, I went into treatment coordination where I reviewed the actual occupational therapists, the psychotherapists. Like I was reviewing their documentation and things like that. So, and I had to go out to do site visits. I had a very interesting job. Then from there, I went to the training department where I trained staff on how to work with individuals with developmental disabilities. Learn skip. For those that are in that world, you understand what those are different maneuvers to help either, I don't want to say the word restrain just because right now I've been out of that world for almost 20 years. But ways of restraining individuals, but not hurting them or getting out of if they came up behind you and did something. I was certified in that. Yep, I remember I did all this stuff. Then after that, what else did I do? Oh, I was also I was the co-chair of their incident reporting committee. That is where if there was an incident with an individual with developmental disabilities and staff, like if there were allegations of abuse. So this is where some of you probably like, oh, he has an interesting perspective on certain topics. This is my history because we would sit as a committee of I co-chaired with the director. The director that I co-chaired with, she was a director for one of the day habs that adults with the developmental disabilities used to go to. So she had that experience and perspective. Then we had other directors that were part of this committee, and we would sit there and listen to these different stories, which was interesting because the co-chair and I really had to be the neutral parties, because some of these other individuals that are part of this committee, sometimes I would be like, you're a part of this committee. You should be a little bit more open-minded as to what's happening here. But that's why we were the co-chairs and in regards to how that was handled. Then we had to write reports on that. Oh my goodness. It was interesting aspect. It was an interesting aspect to the job, but at the same time, it was like the reporting aspect of like writing it up. Oh, I didn't like that part. Or getting audited. Didn't like that either. All right, I've digressed so much. If you haven't liked the video already, what are you waiting on? Liking the video is an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. When you like my video, the algorithm will start showing smaller channels, bigger channels, channels that you have not seen before on your Explorer page. Also, don't forget to share the video. There's a share option under the video. Share us to your friends, your coworkers. Sharing is caring. One of my favorite things is when you guys tell me, oh, I put my coworker on, I put my cousin on, I put my mom on, or my mom put me on to you. That is what's going to help build our community. So keep sharing and keep supporting any way that you can by watching. Turn us on while you're cooking or doing something. I just love hearing all the stories of what the content means to you guys. So I do appreciate it. All right. Back to Real Housewives of Orange County. I took a major digression because we were talking about what Emily and Shane were talking about in their scene. That was a very important scene, I think. Let's get to what is happening here. And Katie clearly is a lone wolf out here. I don't know what that seating chart is going to look like. I think it was Bravo OOMG that came up with the seating chart, and it had the entire cast on one side, bunched up on one side, and Katie on the other side. She has no friends right now, including Jen. And that doesn't mean that Katie is the evil one here and that she's wrong, because clearly in this episode, it is exposed that Gretchen did admit to Tamra that maybe I did tell her I went to the hospital? But then in her confessional, that confessional look this week with the bump, and then that was an interesting look. Okay. There's a few interesting looks, confessionals this season of Housewives of Orange County. And luckily, Gina's not the worst of them all, Gina. Come on, Gina. Good for you. The season's not over yet because she might shock us next week. But for the most part, she's been good this season. All right. So we're trying to get to the bottom of what happened. Now I understand why they decided to do the lie detector test this season. And we're going to get into that next week, I think. Or at least that's what they're previewing. And I'm like, oh, good. Let's do a lie detector test, because I had to replay a few parts of this episode again, because I was like, wait, who said what? So here's what I gathered. And I'm not sure if this is the truth, but this is what I gathered. Katie was definitely told by Gretchen that she went to the hospital, and when she went to the hospital, they found drugs in her system. This is what Katie is alleging. Okay? Matt, when she brought this up to Matt, his response was weird to me. Anyone else? I thought his response was like, why don't you just say what it is? Because he's like, well, I will say is that you're not lying. What? No, that's not a clear answer. Like, your clear answer would be like, Slade told me this. Like, why wouldn't you say it with your chest? Like, why are you being a punk? If anything, I can understand maybe Katie, I'm with these girls. You don't care. You're supposed to be the husband. You think if I was in this situation, I'd be like, well, no, Slade told me blah, 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 blah. So, but based off of that never before seen clip in New Orleans, Gretchen admits that she may have gone to the hospital. So Gretchen was caught out there in a lie. However, the Kiki Monique element here, the blogger, this is what, no, because they were talking about another journalist, a male journalist, because Gina revealed while they were in New Orleans that she reached out to a journalist, a male journalist, to confirm the Kiki Monique story. So in New Orleans, she confronts Katie and says that the journalist, the man, said that he did speak to Kiki Monique, and this is what she was told from Katie. So Katie did lie to the group and say that because she was trying to protect Gretchen, because Slade called Matt and said, we need to protect Gretchen. This is why I had to replay, because I was like, what? So just to reiterate, Katie did lie to the group that let me get this straight, because this is a lot. She did lie to the group that Gretchen told her that, and that she never said anything like this to Kiki Monique. However, she now admits that she did say this to Kiki Monique, but she denied it to protect Gretchen. So Gretchen was caught out there in a lie. This wasn't a good look for you, Katie, but I think Katie felt like a lone wolf, and the only people she had were Jen and Gretchen. And now she doesn't even have them. So now everyone's like, I'm Team Katie, I'm Team Katie. I'm not Team Katie at all. I'm not Team anyone. I'm Team me. I don't know these people, because all of them are lying. But I do believe that Katie was protecting Gretchen, because I do believe that, and I saw Gretchen did an interview with Heather McDonald. Maybe I will play a clip from that as well, so that we can have some context. I saw this right before I went on stage, when I went on stage in DC. So let me actually pull that up, because I also have a clip. That's why I say none of these people are innocent, because I have another clip that I played at the DC show in regards to Katie, and Katie also just not being a trustworthy person. She might be telling the truth here, but don't forget, we've caught her in multiple lies. Don't forget, we had that whole road rage incident. Just saying. Let me play this clip for you. Which one do I want to play first? Let me play this other situation that happened. So Amir was a former publicist that worked with Katie. You've seen Amir before. Okay, he's done a few different podcasts. Let me play this clip for you when he talks about his experience with Katie Janela from Real Housewives of Orange County.
Again, time second.
Oh,
Yeah. There's some tea on this.
Really? Do you want to do it now?
But basically, she wanted me to help her with PR. I've worked with a lot of A-list celebrities, so I understand delusion to some extent. She's like, I want to be on Good Morning America as a co-host. Let's aim lower. You were on the Golf Channel. Like, we gotta aim lower. And then, literally, she calls me on a random day. She's about to sign the contract. She's like, Alex Baskin said I can't be seen with you because I'm feeding you information.
That's like the whole scenario of the season.
Alex Baskin, for those that don't know, is the executive producer of like Vanderpump Rules, The Valley, and of course Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Orange County.
But then she proceeds to like, I'd gotten her Fashion Week front row. She's like, oh, can I just still go? I'm like, no, bitch. Like, you go with me. Like, in what world?
You can't just go by yourself.
You can't just go by yourself. And then she, like, pretended to not know me and did not. And I'm like, girl, you told me crazy stuff. Like, she told me about how her and her daughter would talk about when her daughter would get an STD. She was yelling drunk. She was cussing. She is not the Katie on TV. Like, she wanted to expose Heather and Terry's marriage. She's like, I have DMs from gay guys saying they sucked him off for plastic surgery. I was like, girl, don't say any of this. Like, and then she said that Gina said she smelled like kimchi. Maybe Gina said that. I don't know. Like, this is allegedly. Don't come for me, Gina.
Oh, no, it's all allegedly.
It's, again, Katie's entertaining to watch, but you're lying to everyone.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's like you don't know what's what anymore.
Right.
Because it's, she's always lying, and then she's always telling the truth.
Right.
From what I've known of her, she's very, very nice and very sweet to me.
She was sweet to me until I think I had no, like, use to her. And I think that's very housewife. So I kind of get it.
Don't I know it?
So, and I've noticed that because I think Kiki Monique would probably say the same thing. She was very sweet to me until she wasn't. As you saw in this episode, they flash back and they show, because first of all, again, it was another situation where they're like, why don't you just call Kiki and just resolve this right now? And she's just like, but when we look at her trying to protect Gretchen, that's why she doesn't want to call, because that wouldn't be protecting Gretchen. I'm so glad that we had that footage, though, just to confirm that Gretchen lied. They also later show that Katie says that she does speak to Kiki, or that she, why they were trying to get Kiki. Kiki will be on the show next week having a lunch with Gretchen. But Katie says that Kiki Monique was going to lie. She's going to try to protect herself. But again, I think she's throwing Kiki under the bus because she was trying to protect Gretchen. But that doesn't make sense what she says during that Page 6 interview that we played a couple of weeks ago, where she was saying that Kiki is a clout chaser. And now all of you, because you're team Katie, are now slamming Kiki's. Y'all need to stop. The bloggers are the journalists are not the ones to blame here. The ones to blame here are the ones that are, trying to influence bloggers and journalists and things like that, reaching out. Journalists and bloggers are here for the story. So if you're going to give them a story, they're going to sit down and they're going to listen, because that might be their next big break. So I don't blame the bloggers. I don't blame the journalists. I don't blame the content creators, or whatever you want to call yourself. We need to put blame, or they call them clout chasers. A lot of you Bravo fans want to call people clout chasers. You're probably saying that because you're jealous. Because if it was you that had the opportunity, you've been like, yay. So stop with the whole, they're just being clout chasers. Ain't nobody need to get clout from these housewives, okay? I mean, there are some clout chasing content creators. We're not going to, I already hear you guys in the chat. Name them.
I am the fifth member. How about that?
No, we're not doing that. Come to a Kempire After Dark live experience. No. All right. So we played that clip. Again, this is another person that doesn't have something good to say about Katie. You guys, I understand you can dislike Tamra. You can dislike the entire cast. But you can also dislike Katie for the lies that she's telling. But maybe you're saying, well, we dislike her less than we do the others. All right. So let me play this clip from Heather McDonald's podcast. Hold on.
Orleans, and Katie is swearing that she did not tell Kiki this fake story.
This is Gretchen speaking to Heather McDonald on her podcast.
She's like, I swear I did not tell Kiki this story. I swear I did not. I did not. And she's like adamant. And so I'm believing my friend Katie, and as like an idiot, defending my friend Katie, saying, my friend Katie's telling me she didn't say this. So who am I going to believe? The person that's lied and said all these things about me for years, Tamra, or my friend Katie? So then all of a sudden I'm watching this episode and she's like, I'm no longer protecting Gretchen. I'm telling the truth. Gretchen and Slade have been out spinning this story to everybody. And I'm like, protecting me from what? Your lies? Because I have not gone out and told anybody this. And the point is that had I told anybody the story, it would have already been out. Somebody would have put it out forever ago. And if I actually thought that, I would have been the first person to put it out. Do you know what I mean? Because
I will say, when she said that, I was like, well, yeah, it's been so long. That's from season 4. We're on season 19. So I just feel like if she said that, even though she does admit in that car, she's like, I may have said that, may have went to the hospital to Tamra on camera. Then I'm sort of like, well, or she's just, I don't know. Like, this is why I watched this episode and I was just like, everybody's lying.
this was 17.
And I literally mean everyone's lying, including Katie. I don't know which one is the lie, but she's saying that she did lie for Gretchen to protect Gretchen. So she did lie.
Years ago.
Right. If we're going to follow with what Tamra says her beef is with you, is where she says, you've talked about me for years.
Right.
Then why wouldn't you? You're right. Why wouldn't you have brought up this, which there's video evidence of pretty bad behavior, not illegal, but, you know, trying to get your friend pretty drunk on camera.
By the way, I'm not trying.
I'm not an attorney. However, based on what I've seen and heard and all the details, and I'm going to watch it myself, trying to get your girlfriend wasted, I don't know if she broke any laws, but it was quite close.
To protect Tamra from anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, why when Katie says, I'm no longer defending Gretchen and Slade or protecting them anymore. I'm like, protecting us from what? Your lies? So then Katie and now Matt are doubling down. And
Katie's
now
husband.
Matt's, Katie's husband is claiming that Slade called him in New Orleans and said, protect Gretchen, hold the line. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And you should tell that story because you're the one that called Matt.
Pretty disappointed in Matt, obviously, because I did call him. We had just had a conversation about you shouldn't be going and speaking to bloggers or media. Like it's not a good look. Obviously, it's against your contracts. You shouldn't be doing it. We just had that talk. So when I get the phone call from her that I'm being told that Katie has done this, I called Matt. I go, Matt, like, not cool. Like, is your wife actually out there doing this? We just had this talk. I swear she didn't do it. She did not say that to Kiki. And I said, well, I don't want to hear a month from now that she actually did it, because that's been her track record where she denies.
And that's true, though, y'all. I have to say, I kind of still look at Katie because remember, Katie, that road rage incident, I always go back to that. I try to let it go for this season and keep an open mind. But she really, to the point where she lied to the police and got this man arrested and got a judgment against her. So I'm sort of like, I don't know if I can believe her. Allegedly, I'll say. Allegedly, in my opinion, not sure what happened there. I wasn't there when that road rage incident happened, but
and then all of a sudden she flips and there's an admission. And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Is that she is changing her story after denying it on camera.
So we're in New Orleans.
Okay. So that is a clip from Heather McDonald's podcast, a Juicy Scoop podcast. You can see their full interview on her podcast and YouTube channel. And you can read the body language to see whether or not you believe them. All right. So at the end of this episode, we're seeing multiple conversations. We see Gretchen, Jen, and Emily go out to a bar, and they're talking about the situation. And Gretchen is now saying that I never said that to Katie. I never said that. If they didn't have that clip of Gretchen saying that in the van, I think Katie would be over. what's going to be important for me is to see the lie detector test results, but also how Katie handles this at the reunion. I've also speculated that I think that Katie might not come to the reunion. However, if she's asking this former publicist, allegedly, get me to co-host on Good Morning America, and Shannon said in the Entertainment Tonight interview that Bravo's going to build this show around Katie, she has delusions of grandeur, and she might be so delusional that she will show up to this reunion, and maybe she should, because at the beginning of season 16 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, I didn't see it for Britt, but by the end, I was like, well, Britt, you might have some hope, but you should show up to the reunion. She didn't, but here we are. Here we are. I'm gonna keep an open mind, but at this particular point, I don't trust anyone. I don't trust Gretchen. And remember, I gave a lot of, because I don't know Gretchen, and I don't know Gretchen to be a liar. And I don't remember you guys saying that you know Gretchen to be a liar. However, in this particular episode, we see that Gretchen lied or may have lied. Then there's that. The other stuff that happens, we see a conversation. I almost forgot. We had this conversation with, and do you guys think Cody, the waiter, they specifically use Cody to help promote the show? Because I've seen restaurants do that before on reality television, where they hire like a good-looking waiter because they know that they're going to be filmed there, so they think that's going to bring people to come to. I know a bunch of you guys that are in Orange County ended up going to that damn restaurant to go see Cody, the handsome waiter. Okay. So Tamra and Heather sit down for a conversation. All right. And in that conversation, Heather's just like, you haven't, because Tamra's upset that no one has reached out to her. We also had a scene with Tamra in her doctor's office. I briefly already said that we don't need to unpack everything that she said in there, because again, every time she's speaking to her therapist, I just feel like she's just giving us what she thinks someone in this sort of predicament, which might be actually a little scary, that she can't really get in touch with true, real emotions, that she feels like she has to pretend. I'm not saying, I don't know for sure. I feel as if she has to pretend to be going through something. Because even the way she walked into the doctor's office, like she's like, I have to walk like I'm hurt. I said this before, the last time we had a therapy session on camera with Tamra, she's like, I've been crying since our last session. And I always feel like it's a performance from her. So we had that scene with her therapist. Then she sits down with Heather and says, no one has called to check up on me. And Heather just feels like, I've been there for you more than anyone, and to the point where it's actually affected my relationships with the other women. So they have their back and forth. And of course, Tamra uses, all this conversation of my daughters is triggering me. And then Teddy, everything that's going on with Teddy. And of course, Heather, who's prim and proper and, actually has a heart, is like, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you when you're going through all of what you're going through. She's like, I'm sorry. I didn't realize all the things that you're going through. And she can't argue with that. And she basically says that in her confessional, Heather, that I can't argue with that. So, and she knows that I can't argue with that. And I think Tamra knows that as well. And she's weaponizing it. And then it's so funny how Tamra goes from being so emotional and torn up to, oh, can I ask you a question? What's hotter, the whatever dessert they had or the waiter? And just like, oh, he's hot. And maybe that's just to have a light moment. Not everything is sinister, I guess. He was good looking, fine. But at the same time, what about those rumors, Heather? And I wouldn't be surprised, especially because Katie came in with that rumor about the paparazzi. And so it wouldn't shock me that some might say she was digging up dirt because they were digging up dirt on her. Maybe. Do you believe the Dr. Terry Dubrow rumors? I told my real thoughts at the Washington, D.C. show. If you want to know my real thoughts, come to the New York City show on September 12th. Go get your tickets today. And if you can't make it, there is a live stream option exclusively for our very last show of 2025 here in New York City, September 12th. So go get your tickets today. Okay, more information on that will be available in the description for our night of hot topics, gossip, and more. I love when people bring tea as well. So bring some tea. I'll be bringing some too. I did reveal my exclusive story to the DC crowd. I wonder what they thought about that. I didn't ask them, like in the meet and greet and things like that. Like, what did you think? I gave you guys a nice little juicy story. I mean, the reactions were like, yeah. Anyway, so if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's easy and free way of supporting the channel. By the end of this episode, we are still trying to unpack who's lying here. And this is where Katie says that Gretchen's baby's father, Slade reached out to Matt and said basically to toe the line to protect Gretchen at all costs. And maybe in Katie's head, she's like, okay, I need an alliance. I need a friend on here. I only have Jen. I need to align myself with this group. So it looks like Katie also feels a way about Jen because she says she's never hung out with them without Jen and Ryan. And she said that before, remember? She said that before. Alexis said that she doesn't recall if Jen was there with the whole Shannon recording situation. So I don't know. Like I've been trying to give Jen grace, but you see in those moments when Jen is talking with Katie, she's like just call Kiki, just tell the truth. I believe Jen more than I believe Katie, especially because we've caught Katie in multiple lies. Yes, this particular lie seems like maybe she told the truth, but she still lied in order to protect Gretchen. Maybe. Who do you believe? Maybe I'll do a poll. Who do you believe? Team Katie or Team Gretchen or Team Tamra? I'll do a poll instead of voting. But in the live chat, be sure to let me know how you would rate this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County. After talking about it, and I said I was only going to talk a little bit about it, I thought this might be a half-hour episode. We're going on an hour. So it wasn't a bad episode. It was far better than what you guys said. Because a lot of you were like, it was boring. I was like, I don't think this was a boring episode. We got Emily crying in the kitchen, arguing with Shane. We were trying to unpack who's lying. We got Gretchen getting exposed. I don't think this was a bad episode. I'm giving it an 8.5. I thought it was a good episode, finally. But next week, lie detector test. I wonder what those results will look like. It's also interesting, too, because Katie ends up not going on the cast trip. That's not good. But it makes sense if she feels isolated from this group. Lord. All right, y'all. I'm going to wrap it up there. We won't be taking calls because, again, this is pre-recorded. Okay? But make sure you subscribe to the Kempire podcast because I will be dropping the audio first on the Kempire podcast. And shout out to our podcast listeners. And, of course, make sure you subscribe. And while you're there on the podcast, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Okay? All right, y'all. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members. And, of course, thank you to our subscribers. And those of you still watching in the bushes, you should subscribe and turn on your notifications because you're missing out when we go live, when there's breaking news, when there's a post that we make. So get subscribed. Because we don't just talk about Real Housewives or reality television here on the channel. We talk about everything in pop culture. We were live over the last couple of days talking about Lil Nas X. We had quite a few different stories. We were talking about Tamar. Be sure to check out everything that you may have missed. And check out Club Kempire on the Apple Podcast paid subscription. That's where I drop a lot of tea as well. All right. Everyone have a fantastic Sunday weekend. I will see you guys on Monday for the Rewind Rewatch recap with me, recapping the next 4 episodes of the Real Housewives of Orange County, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay, and if you missed it, be sure to check out our past recaps. All right, y'all. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Here we go now. Go.